What's missing today in the church is Lady Galadriel's, who recognize the vital role that men play. They bought into the idea that men and women are interchangeable, and in an effort to be egalitarian and fair. And what's happening is men are not hearing that call to a uniquely heroic role that only they can fulfill. By 2050, 3/4 of your missionaries will be women. And we'll be back to the 1800s, the spinster missionary in the field.
I've said the first religious leader in our faith that treats the men as an advanced version of the Boy Scouts is going to literally own the North American church.
It's not weakness. It's role and calling.
You can endlessly dog men, but you cannot touch. The following is an episode of Ward Radio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Sometimes, I'm trying to word this very carefully. A problem our faith had growing up that I noticed was, yes, in the Mormon church, men have done a pretty good job of not bowing to the woke mob, at least when it comes to what we codify in our faith. You know, yes. They never bent the knee completely to feminism. They did everything else in the book except for give women the priesthood that they could. But at the end of the day, they didn't buckle on that, unlike, I swear, 90% of the other churches. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And with the missionary effort, we've always allowed female missionaries. That hasn't changed. Women that wanted to serve, we would never deny them that godlike opportunity, right? But we never put in those codified demands of like that we put on the men to the women. We never bent that knee. You know, there's some things that we didn't bend that I'm like, okay, cool, that's good. But to justify that, all the leaders my entire life growing up, they'd say things like, and I'm sure you heard this too, Jonah. Well, why can't women get the priesthood? Well, it's because men are so weak, they need the priesthood so they can be at the same level as women are, and God made them naturally. Like, it's our spiritual kick in the pants. And you get all of these boomer sound bites that really, in an odd way, we're kind of like putting this pedestal underneath women and almost reverse deifying them. And I remember thinking like, well, dude, gossip, which is a wildly predominant female problem, is honestly driving just as many people away from the church as some of the masculine dominated problems. So like, why are we saying stupid stuff like this against men? Like, why is it okay in our faith that you can endlessly dog men, but you cannot touch any of the female dominated relational problems, right? And so I just... How have you been able to fight? How have you been able to fight? Like, what's worked when you try and suggest like, hey, we need to improve how do you fight those sound bites? Like, it almost sounds like I don't want to believe that God made us weaker and we needed the priesthood in order to be, functional. But I do see, at least functional at church, but I do see that men will slowly just drift out the back door unless you give them a job, which kind of almost does insinuate weakness, So like,
no,
what?
No. Here, it's not weakness. It's role and calling. I don't know. Did you ever see Lord of the Rings?
Oh, of course.
All right. So Frodo is going to give up on taking the ring to Mordor.
Okay.
And Lady Galadriel looks at him and says, this path has been appointed unto you, and if you don't do it, no one will. And the fact that it would go undone without him gave him the strength he needed to go to Mordor with Sam and deposit the ring. It was her words, her charge. What's missing today in the church is Lady Galadriel's, who recognize the vital role that men play. They bought into the idea that men and women are interchangeable, and in an effort to be egalitarian and fair. And what's happening is men are not hearing that call to a uniquely heroic role that only they can fulfill. What they're saying is, we want you to do this, but you are an interchangeable part. you can do this, but if you don't, a woman will step in and do it. And if you give men that choice, like the 20% of men who are now in their parents' basements, if you give a man a chance to slack, he often will, because he's not needed. As a society, we're doing a terrible job needing our men. And that's been one of the unintended consequences of feminism. As we've lifted women up, we have unwittingly told men, thanks, we can use you, but we don't need you.
Now, I'm really resonating with that. In fact, you're bringing to my memory, I got to hook you up with a guy named Kurt Francom, who
yes, that's exactly what I thought. David Murrow is the OG Kurt Francom.
Yeah, Kurt Francom runs a podcast called Leading Saints, and he's just started to kind of do in our faith what it looks like you've been doing for mainline Christianity in North America for a while. And he's got a phraseology that I'm going to absolutely butcher right now, all right? But he quoted somebody who said, like, every man needs like a mission to accomplish, a beauty to love, and a cause to fight for, right?
That's Eldridge. That's John Eldridge, Wild at Heart.
Okay, Wild. Okay, yeah, that's who is quoting. Okay, thank you. You're right.
Yes.
And he's done a good job converting what those three things are in the context of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I actually I don't have them immediately with me because this just came to my mind, but when I was a Sunday school teacher in our elders quorum, I actually did a survey in my elders quorum, and I handed out a bunch of index cards with pens, and I said, okay, I want you to write down, of these three things, which of them you can immediately recall. Like, who is and what three are they, David? They're a
battle to fight, a beauty to win, and if you type into Google John Eldridge, the three things, it'll pop up.
Okay, so I asked. I asked the John Eldridge three things of my elders quorum, and I handed out a bunch of
battle, adventure, and beauty.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I was like, what as a man that's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what is your battle? What is your adventure? The only thing any of them could really mention was the married men would name their wives as the beauty.
What? Name their wives.
Yeah, they would name their wives as the beauty. And I asked, okay, well, what is the mission of the church? Like, what is the mission we're engaged in now as an elders quorum? And elders quorum in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's our men's group between the age of 19 and basically 35, okay? Once you get older than that, it's called something else. But most of the 19 to 45, 19 to 35 year old men are in what's called elders quorum. So our adult men's group, okay, was just floundering. And I've said this for 15 years. I've said the first religious leader in our faith that treats the men as an advanced version of the Boy Scouts is going to literally own the North American church. Like the first denomination that does that, because Boy Scouts, you've got a goal. It's your Eagle Scout. To get your Eagle Scout, you got these 21 merit badges. To get these 21 merit badges, you got these 42 people here that are experts in the field that you can consult with and that can mentor you. And here's a book right here that's got a little roadmap on it. And along the way, you're going to make a ton of friends. You're going to have all kinds of adventures, and you're going to have all kinds of fulfillment and get closer to God, your family, and your society at large. Boy Scouts is literally a nearly perfect model for masculine success, right? But as soon as these kids get their Eagles, between 14 and 16, we're like, okay, you're done with that now. At least in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there's another rite of passage that's your Mormon mission. But when you come home and as a 21-year-old man, outside of maybe some societies that still put pressure on men to get married, and there's little spots here and there that do that, there's no other rites of passage. It's just this blah fest that really makes me not question why so many men are leaving.
And just to back up your theory, David, so I brought up the statistics for missionaries in the church. In the LDS church in the year in the year like 2000, we had 25,000 new elders per year.
Okay.
That's the same number that we had last year. So for 20 years, the number of new male missionaries has essentially plateaued. over the same period, women have gone from 7,000 new female missionaries per year to 14,000. So it's doubled. The number of women is doubled, and the number of men has stayed.
But our church has grown. Our church has grown. So if we're still producing only 25,000 missionaries, but we're going from 14 million members to 15 million members to 16 million members, that means that 25,000 is actually, though it's plateauing and the number as a whole is growing, it means it's actually a smaller percentage. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, the sisters have gone way, way up, and the elders have just kind of stagnated. So there's a lot of elders who are seeing what's going on and saying, well, I guess they don't need me. Just like your theory. They're saying, not my duty, I guess.
Wow. Right. Because if you think about what makes a good Christian, again, back to the test, a person who's nurturing, who's relational, who's caring, who's good with children, who's good at reading books, all the things that make a good Christian tend to be on the Venus side of the ledger. And when we immediately think of a Christian. So women already have a leg up by our popular definitions. And it's an incomplete reading of the Bible. We tend to think of Christ the Lamb and not Christ the Lion. So my prediction is those lines will cross in 2040. You've got 15 more years, and then there will be as many women on mission as men. Probably because the number of men will drop to about 20,000 and the number of women will go up to 20,000. That'll be the crossing point. By 2050, 3/4 of your missionaries will be women. And we'll be back to the 1800s, the spinster missionary in the field. Y'all didn't experience this in LDS because you're still wandering around Utah at that point. But in the broader mission world, the spinster missionary was the thing. The single missionary woman to Africa, to South America, that was the thing. And because the men were back, working in mines, mills, and factories where they were needed, and the women went on mission. And that's probably what's going to happen in the LDS church.
And I don't want to diminish the service of my wife. My wife served a mission. I don't want to diminish what the sisters contribute to evangelism in our church, because it's wonderful. But there was one passage in your book, by the way, where it talks about, was it Shackelford's adventure to the North Pole, where
Shackleton,
where he says, "Hey, we're going to go to the North Pole," and nobody signs up, and then they put a poster out and it says, "Almost dangerous mission. Only the strongest, fittest, bravest men. Certain death of all your companions is nearly guaranteed." It was just this horrifying.
Dude, Thomas S. Monson, the president of our church, closed an area that wasn't doing very well, waited 6 months until all the missionaries that remembered it were gone, and then said, "Oh, I've got this really difficult area that I want to open up. Who wants in?" And that past mission area that nobody wanted to go to, all of a sudden they were clamoring for. And Napoleon did the same thing. He created a position that was called the position for only brave men.
Men without fear. The battery without fear. Yes, I love this story, Cardin.
It was the most dangerous mortar position in his army, and so he said it is for the men without fear. And all of a sudden,
nobody would go to it. Nobody would go to the position because they were too scared, and so he renamed it the Battery for Men Without Fear, and all of a sudden it was flooded with volunteers. What David is talking about is saying, when you're going on this great adventure and Christ needs you to go off to Mongolia and teach these people about the gospel, and then you look over and there's Shirley Temple next to you, you go, well, I guess I'm not really, I thought this was some kind of dangerous adventure. Guess not. And you feel...
No, because, and she'll actually be better at it than you are, because again, she's more relational. She sings better. She doesn't mind holding hands with other women,
and she knits doilies. She knits doilies, right?
Well, we don't need to go that far.
Yeah. All right. Well, the name of his book, guys, is Why Men Hate Church. His name is Dave Murrow. He's super cool. For this and more, check us out at wardradio.com. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Before you go, please make sure that you like the video, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please let this be the video in which we earn your subscription, and that you press the alert button so you're alerted to all of our fun live streams and standalone videos and community posts. Also, if you'd like to help us out, please consider joining the channel. Members get all kinds of cool perks and benefits. They get early access to a lot of our videos and special emoticons and emojis during our live streams and preferential treatment there. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, we have a super cool Discord. If you'd like to join our Discord, check us out on wardradio.com. There's a link to the Discord there. Also, you can sign up there for our newsletter. Our newsletter is a lot of fun, and you can put your email address in there. And if you'd like to contribute to the program, please consider looking us up on Venmo or on the Cash App. We're on both of those platforms. Also, if you just want to keep watching more content, right about here and probably right about here are going to be some more videos. Please check those out. And as always, for this and more, please make sure that you look us up and check us out at wardradio.com.